Let's be real for a second. Are you tired of seeing your API bills for the big AI models just go up and up? Do you ever feel like you're kind of locked into one company's way of doing things without a lot of control? We're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the dark horse LLMs. These are the unsung open-source heroes that are quietly starting to run circles around their big-name, proprietary competition. Okay, let's get into it.
The AI giants. They have a great story. They want you to think that their super expensive closed-off models are the only real choice for serious work. But what if I told you that whole setup is kinda a racket? There's a new wave of open-source models coming, and they aren't just nibbling at the edges. They are shattering expectations. We're talking about the giant killers of the AI world, and they're here to change the game.
So here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about the big problem, the API overlords. Then you'll meet our three dark horse contenders, absolute killers in their own right. One's a coding genius, one's a logic master, and the last one is an efficiency machine for the edge. After that, we'll give you a clear guide on how to pick your champion and wrap up with what all this really means for the future of AI. Right now, if you look at the AI landscape, it's really run by a handful of massive companies. You can think of them as the API overlords. If you want to use their best-in-class models, you've got to drive up to their toll booth and pay the fee for every single query. This doesn't just drain your budget, it locks you in and kills your flexibility.
You know, the AI establishment really wants you to stay on their platform. They'd love for you to believe that open source is just for hobbyists, that it's too risky for real work. But the truth? The open source world is moving at a dizzying speed. And the results? Well, they speak for themselves. It's time to meet the models that are proving all the doubters wrong.
All right, first step to the plate, we're talking about a model that's targeting one of the most popular and expensive AI use cases out there, code generation. Let me introduce you to Qwen 2.5 Coder. This thing is a specialist. It was literally built from the ground up to just live, breathe, and write code.
So in this corner, you've got the heavyweights. GitHub Copilot, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, the ones backed by giant corporations and pretty hefty price tags. And in the other corner, our challenger, the 32 billion parameter Qwen 2.5-Coder. It's an open source model you can run all by yourself. So how does our David stand up to these Goliaths?
Just take a look at these numbers. Seriously. On HumanEval, which is a really tough coding benchmark, Qwen 2.5 Coder hits an insane 92.7. To put that in perspective, that's more than 20 points higher than CodeLlama 70B, which is a much bigger model. But here's the kicker. It's not just beating other open source models. It's beating the reported scores for GPT-4. Yeah, you heard that right. This is an absolute game changer. And look, this isn't just us or some academic paper saying this. This is the word on the street. In the developer community, when the actual users, the people running these models every single day, start posting stuff like this online, you know something big is happening. The open source world officially has a new coding king.
So why has this model been flying under the radar? Well, part of it's just perception. It comes from Alibaba, so it hasn't gotten the same buzz in the West. But the reality is, its power comes from its training. It was pre-trained on gigantic, super high-quality code bases. And the cost? The cost is the best part. You can host it yourself on a single A100 GPU, or find an API for around 20 cents per million tokens. We're talking pennies on the dollar compared to the big guys.
Okay, so that takes care of coding. Open source is clearly a contender there. But what about the other big mountain to climb in AI? I'm talking about complex reasoning and logic. Well, guess what? There's a dark horse for that too. Meet DeepSeek v3. In this arena, the undisputed titan is OpenAI's o1. It's basically the gold standard for reasoning. Now, a lot of people write off DeepSeek v3 as just another mixture of experts model, but that's completely missing the magic. It's a 67 billion parameter MOE, which means it only uses a small piece of its brain for any given task, making it incredibly fast and efficient. And this is where it gets really interesting. It performs at a level that rivals the very best closed-source models in the world on things like math and hard logic problems. But it does it with a crucial difference: speed. Pumping out 100 tokens per second is just blazing fast for a model this smart. And it's all because of one very clever trick under the hood. So here's the secret sauce. It's called multi-head latent detention, or MLA. The easiest way to think about this is to compare the model's KV cache to the RAM on your computer. The more RAM you need, the slower and more expensive things get. MLA is like a genius compression trick for that RAM. It lets the model remember what it needs to without a huge memory footprint. The result? Insane speed at a fraction of the cost.
Our final dark horse is here to prove that, you know what, size isn't everything. Microsoft's 5.4 is a small language model. It's designed to crush all those everyday tasks that don't need a super genius AI, but absolutely demand speed and accuracy.
Its main competition is the workhorse we all know and use, GPT 3.5 Turbo. It's the default for everything from sorting emails to pulling data from text. And our challenger? The tiny 5.4, a model that most people would just assume is too small to be useful for real production work. Well, let's see what the data has to say about that.
Okay, prepare to be surprised. On graduate-level Q&A benchmarks, the little 14 billion parameter 5.4 is beating Llama 3.3, a model that is 5 times its size. And when it comes to competition-level math, it's not even a fair fight. This isn't just punching above its weight. This is a straight-up knockout. So, how on earth did Microsoft do this?
The answer isn't about feeding the model more data, it's about feeding it better data. Microsoft developed this incredible strategy of training its model on what they call textbook-quality synthetic data. Think of it as a perfectly balanced, nutrient-dense diet of information, designed to teach the model how to reason from the ground up.
This one chart really tells the entire story. See that dotted blue line? That's the model fed the high-quality, synthetic textbook data. It consistently crushes the model that was trained on a much larger but messier dataset scraped from the web. It's simple, but it's profound. When it comes to training AI, quality beats quantity. Every time.
So why should you care? Because it means you can finally stop making all those expensive API calls to GPT 3.5 for a huge chunk of your day-to-day business tasks. We're talking about tagging emails, routing support tickets, pulling structured JSON out of documents. And here's the best part. It is so ridiculously efficient, it can run on a regular CPU. That's right, no expensive GPU needed.
Okay, so we've met our 3 giant killers: the coder, the logician, and the edge champion. So the big question is, how do you actually put these guys to work?
Let's just boil it all down. Here is your ultimate cheat sheet. If you're building code generation agents, Qwen 2.5 Coder is your new best friend. Time to ditch that expensive Copilot subscription. If you need complex reasoning or advanced RAG, DeepSeek v3 is your open source answer to OpenAI's o1. And for all that high-volume classification and extraction work, 5.4 lets you drop GPT 3.5 Turbo and just watch your costs plummet.
Getting started is actually way simpler than you'd think. Step 1. Figure out your single, most important task. Be ruthless about it. Step 2. Benchmark the right dark horse model for that specific job. Don't just trust some generic leaderboard. And finally, Step 3. Deploy it with amazing open-source tools like Ollama, SGLang, or LM Studio. It's that easy.
You know, stepping back, this isn't really just about 3 cool new models. This is about a massive shift in the industry. The era of a few API overlords holding all the keys to the best AI, well, that era is ending. Specialized, efficient, powerful open-source models aren't just playing catch-up anymore. In their own domains, they are taking the lead. This is what the democratization of AI actually looks like. The power to build truly state-of-the-art AI is no longer trapped behind a paywall. It's out there, it's accessible, it's customizable, and it's cheaper than it has ever been. The Goliaths of the AI world have been put on notice by a whole new generation of Davids. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with them?